The tension on the St. David is reaching boiling point in just the third episode of Below Deck's 12th season, and it's becoming increasingly clear that not everyone is going to survive the season. This week's installment, aptly titled Fight Island, revealed deep fractures forming within the crew that make a mid-season firing seem all but inevitable. If I were placing bets on who'll be packing their bags first, my money would be squarely on Caio, whose performance as Bosun has Captain Kerry visibly questioning his hiring decisions. By the end of the episode, Kerry straight up asks Caio if he's actually up for the job, and while our overconfident Bosun quickly confirms he is, the captain's face tells another story entirely. The deck team's struggles are mounting with each passing hour, from missed breaks to drifting inflatables and schedule mix-ups that have Kerry worried he looks like a clown in front of the guests. When Caio confidently directs the captain to a supposed prime snorkeling spot in Anguilla, only to realize he's completely wrong about the location after Kerry has already announced it to the guests, you can practically see the captain's blood pressure spiking. It's exactly the kind of schoolboy mistake that has Kerry questioning whether his bosun is truly ready for a leadership position on a vessel of this caliber. The snorkeling mishap might have been forgiven in isolation, but when combined with Kyle spotting the banana float drifting away from the yacht and Caio bringing guests back 30 minutes ahead of schedule with zero communication, it's clear the captain's patience is wearing dangerously thin. While Caio might be the most obviously at risk of getting the boot, Stu Solene isn't performing much better, though somehow she's managing to skate by on charm and excuses. What makes Solene's poor performance particularly frustrating is how she's manipulated the situation to make her inexperience a source of power rather than a motivation to improve. It takes her a staggering 2 hours to make a single bed, yet Fraser hugs her tightly and showers her with praise simply because she didn't throw a tantrum when asked to complete this basic task. It's as if the bar has been set so low for Solene that simply showing up and not actively rebelling against instructions is considered a major achievement. The source of Solene's casting becomes a bit clearer when she casually mentions to Kyle that she kept a bracelet from her ex-boyfriend Dylan, the Johnny Bravo look-alike deckhand from last season. This revelation makes her presence on the show make more sense, though it also highlights what sets her apart from the rest of the crew. While most Below Deck cast members are career yachties first and reality TV personalities second, Solene gives every indication that she couldn't care less about actual yachting. This fundamental difference creates a disconnect that becomes increasingly problematic as the episode unfolds, especially in her interactions with second Stu Rainbeau. The friction between Rainbeau and Solene escalates quickly as they prepare cabins before the charter guests arrive. When Rainbeau tries to teach Solene a more efficient way to make beds, explaining that properly tightening sheets and using Febreze eliminates the need for ironing, Solene responds with eye rolls and attitude. Her approach to housekeeping mirrors that of a reluctant teenager doing chores. She wants clear, simple instructions and the freedom to complete them at her own leisurely pace, with zero concern for how her slowness impacts the rest of the team. This mindset directly contradicts Fraser's explicit direction that morning when he told Solene she should be learning from Rainbeau about how a Stu thinks, and they agreed to skip the pleasantries in favor of efficiency. The tension comes to a head when Rainbeau later apologizes to Solene for yelling, which, to be clear, she didn't actually do, and Solene dismissively brushes off the apology. Even more bizarre is that this uncomfortable exchange happens right in front of Captain Kerry during dinner in the crew mess, with the captain awkwardly witnessing the interaction without intervening. This dynamic unfairly positions Rainbeau as the bad cop, while Solene continues to underperform without consequences. What makes the situation even more frustrating is how third Stu Barbara unknowingly reinforces Solene's behavior by treating her with kid gloves. She praises Solene in front of the entire crew and makes light of her glacial pace, joking about how it took 2 hours to make a bed. But hey, at least she did a good job. Because Barbara approaches Solene with gentleness and humor, Solene actually responds to her instruction, creating the illusion of progress. This perceived improvement is what leads Fraser to tell Solene how proud he is of her, completely oblivious to how she has effectively manipulated the entire interior department to accommodate her incompetence rather than pushing herself to improve. Fraser's blindness to Solene's manipulation is just one symptom of his generally distracted leadership this charter. In a particularly embarrassing sequence, he fails to have the captain's uniform ready 3 separate times in a single day. After the first incident, Fraser vents in a confessional that he may need to stop relying on others and give more explicit directions. Yet after the third uniform mishap, he simply tells his stews that this can't happen again without implementing any actual system to prevent future occurrences. When Barbara takes the blame for the laundry issues, Fraser doesn't seize the opportunity to create a proper protocol or assign specific responsibility for the captain's uniforms. It's exactly the kind of leadership vacuum that allows Soline's poor performance to continue unchecked. The impact of the interior department's dysfunction falls hardest on Rainbeau. Assigned to the late shift for the charter, she attempts to give Soline more guidance on working efficiently, only to be repeatedly dismissed. Predictably, Soline fails to complete all her assigned tasks before going to bed, leaving Rainbeau to pick up the slack. By 2 a.m., Rainbeau is in tears. By 2:15, she's having a full-blown panic attack. She doesn't finish the overwhelming workload until 3 a.m., though she later tells her teammates she finished at 2:15 so she can get up earlier to help with turndowns. In a revealing conversation with Jess, Rainbeau explains her upbringing taught her to prize stoicism and physical fighting as appropriate emotional outlets, which has led her to manage her temper by bottling everything up. This coping mechanism is clearly reaching its breaking point, and until Rainbeau speaks up to Fraser about how overworked she is, the chief stew will remain oblivious to the brewing disaster in his department. The 5-day charter featuring adult film stars presents its own unique challenges beyond the crew drama. Primary guest Sky and his 7 companions arrive with specific requests, including a massive dong, sand sculpture on a nudist beach, and the eyebrow-raising demand for a bottle of lube in every cabin, much to housekeeping's barely concealed horror. Despite the rocky start with rain and wind that nearly gave Kerry a heart attack while navigating through a narrow bridge at port, the yacht anchors without major incident. The pressure falls on the deck team to transport the guests to 3 different islands and ensure entertainment each night. Remarkably, despite all the behind-the-scenes chaos, the guests remain blissfully unaware of the crew's struggles. Sky and his friends prove to be surprisingly respectful and genuinely fun, if understandably loud and uninhibited given their profession. The interior team's issues and the deck department's disorganization somehow don't detract from the guests' experience, which is a testament to the crew's ability to maintain professionalism in their presence, if not with each other. The galley proves to be the one area where things are running relatively smoothly, with Lawrence and Anthony delivering impressive meals throughout the charter. Their French cabaret-themed dinner on the first night earns rave reviews, and their lunch offerings are described as delicious and fresh. However, this harmony is short-lived, as Lawrence prepares to depart mid-charter, leaving Anthony to handle the remainder of the meal solo. Before leaving, Lawrence establishes clear guidelines for both menu planning and kitchen cleaning, providing the structure that's so desperately lacking in other departments. As Lawrence exits, Anthony admits he'll miss him, while simultaneously feeling the pressure to prove himself. Captain Kerry offers Anthony an encouraging pep talk, recognizing the chef needs support to redeem himself after previous struggles. One of the most glaring issues plaguing the deck team is the lack of a proper break schedule. Jess has to mention twice on the first day of the charter that nobody has had lunch yet, and when she tells Caio she hasn't eaten, he seems genuinely surprised. As if his deckhands should magically figure out when to take breaks without any guidance from their leader. Later, Jess confides in Damo that she plans to express their collective frustration about the disorganized break schedule to Caio, with the threat of taking it to Kerry if necessary. When she finally confronts Caio about the issue, he responds reasonably enough, saying he's open to suggestions, but this is clearly just one more indication of his fundamental lack of leadership skills. The episode closes with 2 particularly bizarre moments that perfectly encapsulate the increasingly chaotic environment aboard the St. David. During the after-dinner talent show, guest Marcel demonstrates the unusual ability to put his entire fist in his mouth, a sight that leaves the crew simultaneously impressed and disturbed. Yet somehow this jaw-dropping party trick isn't even the most befuddling moment of the episode. That honor goes to Soline, who casually washes her feet in the crew mess sink, and acts so oblivious to basic hygiene standards that it perfectly symbolizes her general disregard for yachting protocols and professional norms. As we head into the next episode, several questions loom large. How long will Captain Kerry tolerate Caio's schoolboy mistakes before making a change? Will Fraser ever recognize the growing crisis within his interior team? Can Rainbeau continue to shoulder an unfair workload without completely breaking down? And perhaps most pressingly, will anyone call out Soline for washing her feet where people prepare food? What makes this season compelling so far is that the conflicts emerge organically from the inherent stress of the job rather than manufactured drama. Unlike some reality shows where the job is merely a backdrop for interpersonal fighting, Below Deck Season 12 stays true to the franchise's roots by showing how the demanding nature of luxury yachting naturally creates tension, especially when team members aren't pulling their weight. The stress is real, the exhaustion is genuine, and the breaking points feel earned rather than contrived. With Lawrence's departure and Anthony taking full control of the galley, Caio on thin ice with the captain, and the interior team's dysfunction reaching critical mass, the next charter promises even more workplace tension. The St. David appears to be sailing straight into stormy waters, and not everyone may still be on board when the seas eventually calm. One thing seems certain, someone's yachting career might be taking an unexpected detour back to shore very soon, and based on this episode's evidence, Caio should probably start packing his bags just in case.